All right, we are live. It is another Penguins live chat, the first one of 2023. And absolutely nobody is watching since I haven't done one of these in a month. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now YouTube channel. Uh, obviously, this has been, I think, the craziest week or 7, 8 days in Pittsburgh sports, maybe ever. There have always been some highs and lows that you remember. But can you ever remember such silly, insane stories? You had Evgeny Malkin's home being broken into while he was at the arena, and they got all three of his Stanley Cup rings. It looks like it was part of I don't know, a professional job because so many athletes have recently been robbed like of those specific times and materials. You have Puckgate, which still makes me laugh. Not in a good way. It kind of made me laugh that like somebody was like, "Hey, the puck fell to my feet." Yeah, did you do any work to get it? Did you give it to the person who did the work? Shut up. So we had Puckgate. We have the Penguins absolutely gagging away several wins on a crucial, if not, make or break homestand. They had it in their hands. Tampa, Seattle, so forth. And they blew it all except for the Edmonton game. Unbelievable. You have the Steelers getting pounded. And then Mike Tomlin kind of being like, we're going to come back. We'll do the same thing next year. And then just to add a little icing on the cake, the Penguins waived Tristan Jarry on Wednesday. So where you want to go from here, this is the live chat, so you're going to kind of tell me which direction you want to go. I will admit I've got my old man sweater on, so gather around, children, grab a butterscotch. We'll tell the tales of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Francis Anzalone, and Coach Francis, so many of you watch on the YouTube channel here, I think was the most salient. When he and I did the last episode 14, No Pucks Given podcast. And I'm going to tie Jarry into this. Don't worry, guys and gals and undecideds. Francis's contention for a while has been the Penguins can be competitive, but for them to win, they need A-level goaltending and they need their A effort. They can't win games with their B and C effort unless the other team is A, not as good as they are, or B, submits an even worse effort. Two teams playing well, the Penguins need their absolute best in order to win. And I think we saw that on the homestand when they would give the A-ish game, they were ahead, and then they weren't when they didn't give their A game. The second component, of course, to that is the A-level goaltending. Jarry, for a little while, was providing A-level goaltending through December. A-ish level goaltending. There was always that one goal that kind of either undid his performance, undid the team's performance, and sometimes it didn't matter. But too often it did. And the Penguins couldn't break free from that orbit of Hockey 500. And I do know for a fact that Tuesday night, Kyle Dubas kind of, left his GM box in a huff, angry, galled. You knew something was going to go down because even in the worst games, he leaves at the end. He might be grumbling. He might be mad, but he was mad. The sea was angry, my friends. And we obviously we know what decision he came to. So let's talk a bit about Tristan Jarry. And I suppose I can very easily call up the story I wrote this morning. I went A to B on this because it really is a rather simple situation. Let me share the screen here with you while I do that. Share screen. There we go. All right, that's me. That's what I wrote. Jarry's path back to the NHL really isn't in his control any longer. I thought Kyle Dubas very clearly laid it out exactly what's coming next. By the way, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you give the page a like. I thought Dubas was pretty clear, although he didn't make a big deal of what he said. He said it, and that is the other part of this. Is we've got Philip Larson in Wilkes-Barre. We've got Murashov in the ECHL. We have to make sure they stay on the go, which means their progression and their rise through the organization. We have to make sure they stay on the go because they're vitally important to the organization. Well, the only way those guys stay on the go is if they take precedence over Tristan Jarry. That means Philip Larson and Jarry will split the net in Wilkes-Barre. The Penguins are not sending Jarry down to Wilkes-Barre this time to work on his game to come back. They sent him to Wilkes-Barre to get him out of Pittsburgh. To put it, very bluntly, that was the end result. This was them cutting Tristan Jarry, cutting ties, basically. Except there's a guaranteed contract with 3.5 years remaining on it. That's kind of a problem, don't you think? So they're going to save 1.15, the equivalent of 1.15 million this season. Next season, I think it gets bumped up to like 1.25 million. Let me scroll down here to the buyout numbers. Because first of all, I have absolutely no expectation that any team is going to claim Jarry. If there would be any team, it would be the Philadelphia Flyers. And even them, I don't see the Flyers taking a gamble on a goalie with 3 more years at 5.375. If the Flyers were willing to gamble on Jarry, they would pick up the phone and call Kyle Dubas and say, all right, here's the deal. You pick up half. We will give you future considerations. That would be the only way, if I'm Danny Briere, that I would take the flyer on Jarry. At $2.5 million, all right. You can stash him in the minors, and he cost you all of 1.25 million. Okay, that's not a bad situation. I don't think the Flyers are going to do it. So take a look at that buyout. If they buy him out in June, which is when the window is, next year the Penguins save $3.6 million. Now, years 2 and 3 are going to hurt because essentially you're paying Jarry full boat in 26-27, and then in 27-28 you're only saving $800,000. Then the next 3 years, $797 when the salary cap is going to be $100 million. Oh, heck, that's nothing. So that's almost a throwaway in my mind. That's a stupid tax. That's what we say about gambling, right? It's a stupid tax. Well, $797 is a very small penalty for Kyle Dubas for signing a contract that he didn't say it directly, but my goodness, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. My goodness, Dubas walked right up to the line of calling Jarry's contract a mistake. He indirectly did. And I was kind of like, is he going to say it? I was kind of hoping that he would just, because Dubas had a little fire in him on Wednesday morning. And I don't mean angry, like, vitriolic. I mean a certain stern resoluteness in a couple of his answers. he had had enough. And I think standing a few feet from him, I don't know if it came across on the video. I could feel it, right? I'm just standing there looking at his facial expressions, kind of participating in the moment. And there was a little sandpaper in Dubas's, first couple of responses about Jarry. He did confirm 0 health issues on Jarry. So those rumors of a couple of years ago, whatever they were, the issue had been solved and fixed, and Jarry patched up and just fine. All right, so that I think is the Tristan Jarry situation. Someone asked kind of a question I hadn't pondered yet. Could they send Jarry to the ECHL? Yes, they could. It isn't done. It's one of those unwritten things. Sure, you can do it, like picking up somebody else's puck that landed at your feet. You can do it, but you don't. The Carolina Hurricanes, and Jim Rutherford actually did, was it back in 04 or 05? They sent goalie Arturs Urbe. Remember Archie Urbe? All of like 5'10", 5'9", 5'10" of him, if that. They sent him to Johnstown because they didn't want to impede the progress of their starting goalies that they were matriculating, who were matriculating in, I guess it would have been Charlotte at the time. So, yeah, they sent Urbe to Johnstown. Here's a guy who was making, I think, $4 or $5 million bucks even back then. He clearly had an axe to grind with the Hurricanes organization, but he treated the folks and the team in Johnstown exceptionally well. Because I actually came to Johnstown then as the play-by-play guy the year following him. Maybe it was 2 years following. No, I think I was the year following Archie. And he would take the boys out. Like after a good game, they would go to the bar up on the hill. They did not go to Aces very often anyway. If you watch Slapshot, they didn't go to Aces. They went to a different bar up on the hill, and Archie would walk over to the bartender, hand them his credit card or his debit card, and say, I'll be back for that tomorrow. Take care of the boys, and kind of walk out. If you didn't feel like drinking that night or having a good time. So, but to the main point anyway about Jarry to the ECHL, it's a bit of a humiliation tactic that you had better be prepared for the fallout, the blowback, and to completely lose the player and other players along with him. Players have friends, and other players say that's just not right. You don't send a guy down to the East Coast League. So anyway, I think that covers everything. Jarry is going to be a part-time goalie with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins unless the situation and circumstances change. Those situations and circumstances could be trading Alex Nedeljkovic. Let's say the Flyers are in the playoff hunt in mid-February or later February after the Four Nations. And Danny Briere says, I think I like this team. Let's get some goaltending. And he calls up Kyle Dubas and says, all right, here's a second-round pick for Ned. Does Dubas say no to that? Absolutely not. So that could change. The other circumstance or situation that could change would be injuries, Blomqvist or Nedeljkovic. You're not going to see my scouting reports, folks, on Philip Larson. I know there's some excitement because of his numbers. My scouting reports, in fact, have not been great. He's a guy who is gobbling up AHL shots. I haven't seen a quiet and cool command from Larson in the couple of games that I've spied. I've seen some scatter shot rebounds and some stuff like that where he makes the second save because he's a big guy. He's a big goalie. Big goalie. So in the AHL, he can get away with that. In the NHL, that's in the back of the net. So I don't think Philip Larson would be the guy they'd call up. I think they would, in fact, call up Tristan Jarry. I think Murashov is probably relegated to the ECHL for the remainder of the year, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But next year, and that's why I think the buyout is the most likely cause of action. Let me move this back a little bit. The buyout is most likely is to create that space for Murashov. All right, please. I am far from the GOAT, but I'll give you a star on that one. Wait, what's does a star mean? Does that mean I'm saving it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I am far from the. I think I am getting back to my groove. However, I certainly lost it there at the end of December. I was so damn tired. I'm getting back. I'm getting back there. I have been just fine. I was not at practice. That's why I'm here doing this. Dave Molinari went to practice. Dave will be updating that story very soon. Oh, in fact, he just did. Ricard Raquel is just a little nicked up. So there's your update. Definition of insanity? Oh, I don't know. I think Mike Tomlin. Let me backtrack. Let me phrase it this way. The difference between Mike Tomlin and Mike Sullivan is that one is one of the best coaches in their field. X's and O's and motivation. One is genius is too far, but one has a command and a leadership of the industry in terms of X's and O's and evolution. The other is just a leader. Obviously, if you haven't picked it up, Mike Sullivan is the guy who is on the cutting edge of most of hockey evolution in the last decade. He doesn't have a coaching tree because that's not really a thing in the NHL. But the number of youth coaches and juniors coaches and so on and so forth at the lower levels who are Mike Sullivan disciples, significant. USA Hockey features Sullivan. They basically give Sullivan a camera and say, okay, teach coaches, go. He is one of the best hockey minds working, bar none. Mike Tomlin is a mediocre football coach who's a great leader. Infer from that what you will. So I don't think it's insanity for the Penguins to keep Mike Sullivan. I thought he may have hit his expiration date earlier this season. Boy, oh boy. I think we talked about it. You're all like, fire Sullivan. I'm like, yeah, maybe. Look at what Sullivan did. I think this, despite the fact they're 500, this might be one of Sullivan's best, if not his best coaching job in the last 9 years. What he's working with and what he's working with and what he's getting, two very different things. All right. Let's see here. Let me balance the MacBook. I got the new MacBook back. Talk about Jarry. Is he going to get claimed? Nope. Yeah. I am an anomaly. I am Neo. No, I'm kidding. Let's see here. I'm frustrated by the fact that Crosby again gets cheap shotted by Adam Larson, laid there, and no one stood up for him. I think there's something deeper. They don't seem to be a close-knit team anymore. Maybe it's me. You know who else was kind of ticked off about that? Dave Molinari. Dave was like, why isn't anyone going and rearranging Adam Larson's face? Dave didn't say it that way. But Dave's like, there's two unwritten rules. You don't hit someone's goalie and you don't touch their captain. There are two things I'm going to say first before I get to your question, Big Joe, or your statement, rather. One, it happened well behind the play. I didn't see it. Dave kind of nudged me and, pointed to Crosby. We sit, side by side in the press box, obviously. I was looking at something else. And I think a lot of the players think the play had gone a different direction, too. So maybe they didn't know exactly what had happened. And two, you're ahead in the hockey game, or I think at that point you're tied. You have all the momentum in the world. Do you want to give them a power play by doing something stupid? Bear in mind, a week from now, well, a bit more than a week from now, 10 days from now, the Penguins are in Seattle. If they do nothing in that game, then you call them out. Give them the long memory benefit of the doubt, at least for now. And in terms of being a close-knit team, I could talk quite a while on this, Big Joe. Thank you for... There are no fissures or fractions or fractures in this team. Period. None. Are they as close-knit as they have been? That's a difficult question to answer, not because I don't know, because it's difficult to describe. A lot of the new guys have created a wonderful little social circle. The social inclinations of the team no longer revolves around a couple or three guys, who are 38 years old, 37, 38. Crosby, Malkin, Letang are no longer the centers of the social circle. Guys like Cody Glass and Owen Pickering and Philip Tomasino, they've got their own little club, and so it's a very cool locker room. A lot of the guys are really great guys, fun to deal with. Maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but it kind of goes to Puckgate. I was talking to one of the players on the ice when the fans in that corner just went really nuts, chanting, booing. And this player was about to touch the puck. And it almost startled him as the fans start booing as he's about to touch the puck. He looks around thinking Tampa Bay's attacking. There's someone coming up from behind him, or there's something going on. And then, later on, the guys kind of found out the story, so on and so forth. Another guy thought there was a breakaway, began looking around to see what he's missing, thinking that, Tampa had a breakaway. So it was, that was a wild few minutes. But the fact that I can have those conversations with guys is a little bit of a departure from years past when the team really was old. I'll tell you a second inside baseball story here. I've been told, I didn't see it happen, obviously, because it happened behind closed doors, that a veteran who's no longer with the team gave one of the media-friendly players a bit of a tongue lashing last year for being too friendly with the media. Said, stop talking to them so much. I didn't like that at all. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't like it because this player wasn't hanging out with us having beer. The player in question, who's still with the Penguins, was educating us, saying, no. In this particular instance, my job was here, but I made a mistake. I was over here. That caused this player to do that, and was really kind of educating us so that we could bring more information to you. And for a veteran to call them out, yeah, I've got a one-finger salute for that. There is a symbiotic relationship, team, media, fans. Teams always think the media is in the way. But go ahead. Ask Florida about getting media coverage. Ask Dallas. Ask some of these other teams that have no reporters covering them to see if the media does play a role in public interest. And the smarter we are, the smarter you get to be. Some of you, anyway. I kid. All right, Ryan Driscoll. Hey, Ryan, if you were Kyle Dubas, is this stretch of bad play helpful in finally deciding to sell, or do they have to look like they are trying to win to placate Sid, knowing full well they are just not good enough? I don't like the word placate but maybe I've even used it in the past. I think they owe Sid to be competitive as much as they can. Are the Penguins going nuclear, rebuild, tear it down to the studs? No, Ryan, that's not happening. If they lost every game between now and the end of the year, they are still not tearing it down to the studs, because every team that has done that in the last decade is still mired in it. Chicago's going bonkers. People are talking about Connor Bedard not being as good as we thought, because Chicago is still woefully inept. Maybe Detroit finally clicked and, Todd McClellan is the right coach. But they're not Stanley Cup contenders. I can go on and on. So, yes, the Penguins will sell. Period. This homestand might make the sell-off greater, but they were going to sell. Marcus Pettersson is going to be traded. Unless something unforeseen happens, Kyle Dubas wakes up one day and has a change of heart, or Marcus says, I'll play for peanuts, which don't do it, Marcus. Marcus Pettersson will be traded. I don't know who else they sell off. I think Matt Grzelcyk has played himself into a nice trade chip. Defensemen are a very valuable commodity. Grzelcyk started hot, went in the tank, and I'd say the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, he's been great alongside Erik Karlsson. Those two have just been peachy keen. I think they trade Matt Grzelcyk. They'll probably get, what do you get for a left-handed defenseman who can play top four on power play? Probably a 2 and a 5. I don't know what the going rates are. Depends on who else is on the market, et cetera, et cetera. But, Grzelcyk will be gone. I don't know that Cody Glass gets traded. I think Cody Glass probably has more value to the interior of the team than he does being dealt, being a bit of a mentor and a shepherd for Owen Pickering and Tomasino and so forth. I don't think you trade that kind of guy, especially because you're not going to get really much for him. So, let's see here. What's the hate on Saravelli? Oh, here's the hate on. Did I see the hit piece Saravalli published on Dubas yesterday? Yes, I did. That was bare knuckled, man. I've written a couple. I've never thought I wrote a hit piece, but I've written some, bare knuckled, sharp elbowed pieces in my day. That was as rough as you got. Yeah. The problem with it, where his facts weren't wrong, but maybe, I don't know, they were certainly open to interpretation, and he's taken that interpretation, no question about it. It's up to you to decide if he's wrong or not. Poor Blomqvist has to play behind that god-off. I don't think the Penguins' defense has been terrible. I think the biggest problems over the last couple of months when the Penguins have defensive issues has been the forwards. Shots were 16-2. The defense hasn't been bad. Let me try to just take a chunk of my brain and throw it on the screen here. There's nothing I can put up to show you. I think people assume when a team is giving up goals that defensemen are bad. Defending is a full team effort. 5-man effort where the goaltender makes 6. And any one of those players can kind of undo the other 5. So it's a difficult thing to say, oh, the defense is good or bad, because the reality was, on the winning goal, Sidney Crosby got walked. On the tying goal, Evgeny Malkin gets, parked at the blue line. I don't know. It's difficult. As Sullivan said after the game, we have to want to play defense. And the Penguins really kind of were flat-footed in the defensive zone, especially against Seattle. I would submit they weren't hungry enough in the offensive zone. Despite the shot total, they were padding their shot total with a lot of bum shots and not getting second pucks or putting pucks on net that they didn't have to. I don't know. That was a fakakta homestand. That was just weird. They didn't play well in any in any phase, despite some of the numbers showing that they had. Oh, here's my drink. All right, Gable Fisk, let's hear it. Okay, there's a potential off-season solution, mutual termination with full payment. Both sides canceled. Jarry gets paid in full. It's what VGK did with Lehner. There's a difference. There's a huge difference there in that Lehner was injured-ish and could have continued his career. I'll have to dig into the details for you. That was definitely a situation in Vegas that they escaped from. I do not think, in fact, I know so, the NHL Players Association would not take kindly to just brooming a player, saying, here's a check, go away, terminating a contract that was signed in good faith. The NHL would be very unhappy if a team tried to duck salary cap obligations by doing that. So you'd have both sides kind of upset at you. I think, I think Dubas might have been wise to answer my question on Wednesday when I said, hey, what's Tristan's health like? Is he as healthy today as he was a few years ago? Is he healthy? And Dubas said 0 health issues. He might have been wise to say, well, he's got something that's always going to hinder him a little bit, but he can work through it. He would have been wise. Lie. Maybe you can get that buyout there. Let's see here. That regular dude says the buyout year in 2 and 3 absolutely stinks. Think of it this way, regular dude. And I'm going to advocate for it. Joel Blomqvist will make about $866,000 in year 2 when the hit goes to $5 million. So let's say between Jarry and Blomqvist, now they're spending $5.86 million, which is only $500,000 more than they're spending now for Jarry. So think of it that way. And in year 3, when they pay Jarry $4 million, or the cap hit is $4 million, Blomqvist is going to be, $866. I think Blomqvist will still be on his ELC. If I've got this fact wrong, please forgive me. So year 3 would actually 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, Blomqvist will have signed a new deal by 28. So I can't say year 3. Still, let's say Blomqvist signs a starter's deal, and they have a backup now at $2 million. So $2 million plus Jarry's $4 million is $6 million, which means they're only spending another $500,000 more combined than they are spending on Jarry. Wow, 117. Go, folks. Give me some likes and subscribes on that. This is your chat, by the way. For those of you just joining us, I go the direction you want to go. This is us having a hockey conversation. It is not the Professor Dan lecture or a talk show in which you have to call in to participate. You just type your chats right there. Christopher, hey, welcome back, man. With the problem gone, let me put that up there. We can expect to run the table now and make the playoffs. Sure, we'll go with that. There are updates on the Ricard industry where, Urbe says no. I heard great things about Archie Urbe. I mean, really did. If Jarry went to the ECHL, his pay would exceed the entire team. 5, maybe? All right, I'm going to let you guys argue about Frank Saravalli on the comments. I'm not going to get into that. I don't get into colleagues very often unless it's absolutely necessary. I'll let your opinions be your opinions on that. Here, this is true. Dubas is in year 2 of a 7-year contract. He was given 100% power. Yes, that is 100% true. Oh, yeah. As the play-by-play guy of Johnstown, I met so many great fans. There were a couple oddballs in Johnstown who just insisted on every game there being fights, and you couldn't reason with them that it was 2006 when I was there. And like, the game is different. Tampa Bay, who bought into Johnstown at the time, owned a chunk of the Chiefs. Who owned the Chiefs? Well, Tampa Bay and a guy named Jim Weber. Weber. Yeah, Jim Weber, who owned a brewery in Lancaster. Poor guy. They co-owned the Chiefs, and so the Chiefs wanted to send some guys to the ECHL to get a running start at the AHL and back to the NHL. They even had a couple second-round picks on our team. It was like, wow. They sent a message to a couple of guys who basically sent a message back to Tampa saying, screw you, creepo. It's a Rocky reference, by the way. Yeah, it was a good time. But the people who would just scream for fights, like in the middle of the game, they kind of drove me nuts. A second for Ned any day of the week. Well, I'm just saying, if a team comes to the table with a decent offer because Nedeljkovic is doing well in the second half of the season, I think a lot of, tandem goalies do go for a 2 or a 3. Penn's ML is back. You have to realize our prospect pool was dead last. They have turned it around. There actually is some hope. Tristan Brose, Rutger McGroarty, Owen Pickering is already in Pittsburgh, Joel Blomqvist, and Philip Larson, and Sergei Murashov, who has star potential. Who am I missing down there? You know what the funny thing is? A guy turning his career around down there is Emil Bemstrom. Dude is an animal in Wilkes-Barre. BJ says, we don't have any big names or future McKinnons in the minors, but I'm actually optimistic about several of the prospects. Yeah, listen, I think Brose could be a middle 6 center. He's sneaky good. Don't sleep on Tristan Brose. He's got hands. I don't know if they'll fully translate to the NHL level because his skating is not elite. And I think top 6 center to truly be very good has to have very good skating. Of course, as I say that, I think of Sean Monahan and Columbus putting up a point per game, and Monahan's skating is, by NHL standards, average-ish. So, Brose is not an average-ish skater. He's better than that. Maybe he could, a good third-line center, a poor man's second-line center would not be the worst for Brose and add McGroarty, but they are going to have to find a number 1 center. You can't win the big toys without a number 1 center. Dubas's impression, says Michael, gave me the impression that Dubas doesn't want Jarry back at all. Absolutely correct. Did you read? Here, let me. Well, I wrote that in my column yesterday. Actually, this morning I wrote that. I think people on YouTube don't realize I'm a print journalist by trade. I think you all forget. Go to PittsburghHockeyNow.com. It's not videos. It's hundreds of hockey articles. We're on the cutting edge of pretty much everything. Christopher says, Spitting Chicklets has nothing nice to say about Dubas and the job he's done. Only folks in Pittsburgh are in love with his work. I would say that in love is a strong term. I don't think fans are in love with Dubas or his work. I think he's 18 months into a 5 to 7 year overhaul. And I think fans know that he tried and give him credit for trying with Erik Karlsson. Has it worked? Not as well as Dubas or Karlsson would have wanted. Has it failed? No. So I think that's the signature move of Kyle Dubas. I think he may have panicked a little bit or felt pressured to give Jarry the contract that he gave him. I am not opposed to signing Jarry on July 1st, 2023. In fact, I would have signed Jarry on that day or before. But seeing what Jonas Korpisalo had received from Ottawa, I thought the market would have softened for Jarry, or the market rate would have gone down. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe Philadelphia was coming to the table at 5-5, and the Penguins had to beat it, or 5-5.5, or something like that. We'll never know that. But I don't think Penguins fans are in love with the job Dubas is doing. I think Penguins fans are realistic about the situation and the job Dubas is doing, which is probably a lot of gray area. Matt says the Penguins have to turn it around real quick to be relevant and make the playoffs. Let me do some numbers for you here, Matt. I'm not going to take you to the end of the season and say it's a 700 winning percentage or anything along those lines. No. Because the Penguins wadded up and punted away this homestand, they've now got 7 games on the road: Buffalo, Washington, LA, Anaheim. Where am I flying to after Anaheim? Seattle, San Jose, Utah, and home. There are now 4 teams between the Penguins and a playoff spot. So the Penguins have to leapfrog 5 teams to get back into a playoff spot. Talk about relevance here. What the Penguins need to do in the next 7 games, that's 14 possible points. They need at least 11, if not 12. If they only get 9 points, any one of those other 4 teams, probably multiple of those 4 and 5 teams, are going to get 7 or 8 points. So if they come back home with a 4-3 record, there's a possibility they will have lost ground to somebody, or they will be exactly where they are now, 4 points back, 5 points back, 3 points back, whatever it is on the day. It's no bueno. They have to basically run this road trip just to get back to where they were 5 games ago. They had every opportunity 5 games ago. And if they miss the playoffs and it's a bloody day on March 7th and a lot of your favorite players are gone and players are pouting and everybody's angry, just remember this 5-game homestand. This will be the fulcrum on it, which everything tipped and tilted. And they have no one to blame but themselves. They had it. They had the games in hand. They in front of a home crowd. The crowds were pretty good, except for that Columbus crowd to start the homestand. That was pretty weak sauce. But I digress. The Penguins had the opportunity, and it was they who squandered it. Let's see here. Michael, I see a lot of upside in Pickering. His strides are huge. Yeah. Pickering doesn't look like he's skating fast, but then you realize how much ground he covered in a short distance. St. Ivany passed up a lot of hits that then ended up in the net. That's why he is down. I think you went far afield on that one, Michael. St. Ivany was actually trying to play tight at the blue line and getting burned far too often. And then once you get burned at that point, now you're chasing the game. And now everybody else is starting to chase the game too. And there were just far too many instances of St. Ivany kind of looking like a minor league defenseman this season. He was trying too hard, is my opinion on it. He tried too hard. He had such a good year at the end of last year that he had the sophomore slump or the sophomore jinx, and it just snowballed on him. Next year will be interesting. I mean, he's injured now, so he can't be kind of rebuilding. Next year will be the make or break moment for him. These are the players I would be excited about the prospects, McGroarty, Bros, of course, Koivunen, rather. I've been saying Koivunen since last year. It's tough to break. It's Koivunen. Vasily Ponomarev, Pickering, Harrison Brunick, Tanner Howe, Lucius, who they also got in the Gensel trade, and Murashov. No, you've pretty much mentioned them all, Pens ML. I will caution everybody, and I tried to caution a colleague who was really high on Ponomarev. Yeah, there's no offense there at the NHL level. I didn't see any. In fact, I saw very little offensive creation, and certainly no creativity from him in the prospects tournament. I didn't see much in training camp. I didn't see any in the preseason games. I didn't see any in the NHL games. He's a guy who can skate fast and be a little bit of a sandpaper. But even in the NHL, he wasn't playing a sandpaper game. He was just kind of playing a fast game that really was wallpaper. It was just in the background. So I'm going to caution you. Ponomarev might be a nice fourth liner. He might, kind of fill a Matt Nieto role in the future. But he won't be a Nola Chari. And he won't be a Blake Lizotte. I don't see it. This was his chance this year, and he kind of gave it back. I don't know anything about Lucius. We'll see. He's big. He puts up big points in college, but a lot of guys can do that when they come to the next level. Anthony Angelos of the world. Not everyone is a Drew O'Connor who translates it and gets to the big show. But even Drew O'Connor isn't a big scorer in the NHL. McGroarty, Bros. Koivunen is going to be an interesting case. Don't put pressure on him. Don't expect him anytime soon. A lot of work to do there. A lot of skills, a lot of work to do. Harrison Brunick, should have made the team out of training camp, quite frankly. They should have kept him. Tanner Howe, he's going to be a fourth liner. He's going to be a fourth line plugger, grinder guy you hate to play against, but love on your team. And Murashov just might be a UC Saros kind of guy. So, let's see here. Mio. Actually, BJ spelled Pianonemi correct. He looked great in the OHL. He had a lot of points in juniors. This is why I always caution fans on young defensemen, though. Points mean nothing. How are you coming about them? How are you playing in your own end? How are you reading the game? And I didn't see a whole lot of good things. Didn't see a lot of bad either from Pianonemi in training camp. I was trying to write about him, but he really didn't give me a lot to work with. He was, again, kind of blended into the background. Georgia says, they've given Jarry a lot of chances, and it was time. That was certainly Kyle Dubas's message. Michael doesn't like to watch Wilkes-Barre games? Why not, Michael? Listen, do me a favor. Make the drive up to Wilkes-Barre. It's 4 hours. Make sure, the weather is good enough to make the drive to and from. The Motel 6 is clean. It's cheap. I think I usually pay like $60 a night to stay at the Motel 6 right across from the arena. There's a Wendy's, a Chick-fil-A, a pizza place, a Walmart right across from you there. So you won't need for anything. Go check out a Wilkes-Barre game. Have some fun. Get a beast. They have the sub. And basically, the sub was like created in The Office. Like, it should have been on the Office TV show. Because basically, they just take all of the meat. And I don't mean some of the meat. I mean all of the meat. And just dump it in the sandwich. All kinds of different, they just dump meats in the sandwich, slather with some cheese, some peppers if you want, and here you go. It is both the greatest and worst thing you're ever going to eat. Get the beast at the Mohegan Sun Arena. All right. Have there been any Mario sightings? No. Listen, Mario has a little tiny toehold of the team, a point to two maybe. just to say Mario Lemieux is an owner, but Mario spent his entire life at a hockey arena. When you walk away from it, I can understand there are other things to do in life. And I think I don't know if I've said this before publicly, but when I'm done, whether it's in a couple of years or 10 years doing this job, and I sell the Hockey Now franchise and do whatever I'm going to do, I'm done. You're not going to see me at a hockey game or a hockey rink every day. This will take it out of you. This life will take it out of you pretty quick. Hey, Dan, IR3K. Why is no one talking about how good Carlson had been playing lately? He looks dialed in and committed. Well, geez, IR3K, read Pittsburgh Hockey Now. We wrote several stories on him. I've given him A's and report cards, written specific stories on him. So I'm talking about it. You just can't wait for the video. I don't do a lot of videos on players. I wish I had the time to kind of sit here at home on a day off and crank out 4 videos. But even when I'm not at the rink, I'm writing or I'm doing Hockey Now business. Okay, let's get to Jason Myers. I'm catching up on the questions here. I'm still half an hour behind. Sorry. Penguins need more consistency. The first period of the Edmonton Oilers game was phenomenal. Absolutely. Nick, the restaurant at the top of the hill in Johnstown is nowadays called Asiago's. If the incline plane ever finishes construction, let's do lunch. No, they didn't go to the top of the incline. They went to the players when they were old enough to drink back in the ECHL days. Oh, I don't know Johnstown well enough to know where that bar was. It was kind of up the hill, but it wasn't the one at the top of the hill. And that restaurant has been a million. Every 2 years, that restaurant cycles over to something new. I feel bad. In fact, at the place where the players used to drink, I got cornered by a fan, kind of a crazed fan one day. I used to just go have lunch. I would do my game prep at lunch. I would have a sandwich of whatever sort. And the restaurant and the bar owners always knew me. Scott's by Dam is still my favorite. I love Scott's by Dam. Right across from the arena, right across from the dam. So it's Scott's by Dam. Giant tacos, like a big old taco sandwich. Loved it. So I wasn't at Scott's, but I was at the place where the boys used to drink, and I don't even know the name. I'm sure it's there anymore. And this fan kind of corners me. Okay. He starts telling me everything wrong with the team. Okay. My food comes. Most people have the manners to not continue a very one-sided conversation. No, not this guy. And he's getting more animated and F-bombs and, they need to fight more and they need to do this and they need to do. And after literally 15 minutes of my food sitting there, I've taken a couple bites and kind of looked at him with the look of, okay, man, I get it. Go away. Like you just look at somebody like you're giving them every possible signal and they just ain't picking it up. So finally, not my finest moment, but this is what you can expect if you overburden Dan in public. I looked at him and I said, buddy, you're an idiot. Can I eat my lunch? And I said nothing else. And he got so angry, he stormed off. And I got to eat my lunch. and I honestly, honest to God, no guilt. But this is how hometown or small town Johnstown is. That guy was a season ticket holder in Johnstown. Turns out he'd also done some violent things to other people in the past. If I had known that, I might have listened to him a little longer. So every home game for the rest of the season, I did this in like December because we were having our Christmas party there. Every home game for the rest of the season, this guy would, the Johnstown press box actually kind of hangs over the edge of the ice. So it's like this little trailer essentially hanging from the roof above the fans. So he would be on the other side of the ice, very small arena. He would come down to the glass and begin screaming my name so that all 2,000 or 3,000 fans could hear, and then begin flipping me off and screaming F you and screaming F. And this would go on through the entire intermission. And the ushers thought it was hysterical. Like I said, I met a lot of great folks in Johnstown. That guy was not one of them. Let's see here. I see an attractive package of Raquel and Pedersen going to a contender, says Mike, and changing their fortunes in the playoffs. I like Carolina, for example. Interesting. I don't know that Pedersen. First of all, Carolina doesn't need a defenseman like Pedersen. Could they use a scorer like Raquel? Yes, they could. Would Raquel play that high-tempo man-to-man defense? I don't know. That would be interesting. Raquel is far more creative than what they've got in Carolina. I don't know. That would. I like your thinking, Michael. I don't know if I like the team you've selected. Georgia says I got a nice call out on what is it? TYT Sports about my coverage of the grumpy old guy who took the puck. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I have a lot of Republican friends too, and they were chuckling over that. Like the Young Turks are calling me out for a good job, and like, do I tell my Republican friends that the Young Turks call? Yeah. I appreciated their compliments. I still haven't seen them, so if you have the clip, send it over to me. All right, Thompson. Rack's value is very high now after last year's slump. He could be getting moved. Rusty will be moved this summer since his no trade clause is no longer in June. July 1st, Michael. Brian Rust's no trade clause expires. I don't think you trade Rickard Rakell until the summer either. Unless somebody comes to you with full boat, right? Unless somebody comes full price before the deadline, you don't trade Rickard Rakell. You're going to have more teams bidding in the summer, and you're going to have some teams more teams looking for Rickard Rakell. Let's see here. Do I think Mike Sullivan? This is from Maddie Udemall. From Matt. Do I think Mike Sullivan gets let go this season? No, I don't. The team is competing. Mike Sullivan has done more with this team, more tweaks, more changes, getting them to buy in that I think he's done in the past 5 years combined, quite frankly. I think he's coaching his butt off. It's just he's not going to get the results until they get better goaltending consistently and until they decide. Do I get into this about Sidney Crosby or not? Well, we're almost an hour into this, so most of you have checked out, so I can get into this about Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's defensive stats this year are not great. I usually like to vote for him for the Selke. I couldn't do it this year, or I can't do it this year. And the reason for that, I don't think it's because Crosby is old or he's cheating, but he is having to take more risks to get more offense going because all of the pressure for the Penguins offense, all of it, always is on Crosby. If Crosby's line doesn't score, they don't win. Period. He knows this. And so maybe he's taken a couple shortcuts in the defensive zone. Maybe he's a little tired because he's still playing 22 minutes a night, 21, 22, 23 minutes because it's all Crosby. And yeah, all of those things. I'm not blaming Sidney Crosby. I'm telling you the reality of the situation. Those things all hurt, but none of those things come back on Mike Sullivan. Those things come back, higher up. Adam says they have team mental defense lapses and subpar efforts at times. Yeah, absolutely. The Penguins are good for at least a couple of shifts of what the hell was that? I don't see that from other teams too often. The Penguins have kind of cornered the market on holy cow defensive lapses. Jimmy Nomis, mark my words. All right, Jimmy, I'm going to hold you to these, and I'm going to put them, I'm going to notarize them, I'm going to bring them to your house. Sometime down the line, okay, so we're starting off not so specific. You're killing me, Jimmy. Sometime down the line, we will face a team with Jarry in net. We will be forced to pull our goalie, and Jarry will wire one right over our heads straight into the net. All right, I'll tell you what, Jimmy. I will give you 5-1 odds, and I will, let's say, wager $100 on that it won't happen. All of it, not some of it, all of it. I would not be surprised if Jarry gets, picked up after he gets bought out. He has a reclamation, and he absolutely slams the door on the Penguins some night. That part, Vegas ain't taking those odds, baby. But on the scoring the goal, yeah, I'll give you 5-1. All right. Brienne, or maybe Brian? See a dude holding a fish. I'm going to assume Brian. Another viewer posted a list of players they're excited about. He had a list of about 10. That said, Dubas has made his mistake, but the cupboard is filling. Yes, I absolutely. Again, folks, I want you to do me a favor. Just go to Pittsburgh Hockey Now every day, every day, every day. Okay? Because I write every day, every day, every day. 7 days a week, 365. There will be content on Pittsburgh Hockey Now, and about 363 of those days, I will be the primary producer of said content. Dave and Shelley do wonderful work, and I use them to kind of double my content that day rather than just let them do it all. We all work on those days. But yes, yeah, the Penguins, I think the Athletic ranked the Penguins still at like 26th in terms of prospect ranked. That's because there's no depth. It's also because I don't think people outside the organization or outside you, the fans, who kind of participate with me and a couple of other, I don't think a lot of people outside of this little bubble know about Murashov on the way. They certainly don't know about Tristan Brose. Oh, he was a second-round pick 4 years ago. Well, what the heck? He's nobody. He's going to be somebody. Maybe not a big impact difference maker, but he's going to be on the NHL roster. So, yes, I agree the cupboard is filling up. I also agree Dubas has a crap load of draft picks on the way. Those draft picks will begin to bear fruit probably about 2028. Give him a couple of years in juniors or a few years in college. So we're going to start seeing those guys hit the organization in 28. Which, by the way, does create a gap between the end of Malkin, maybe Letang and Crosby, and when these guys hit the NHL. There's going to be a 2 to 3 year window the Penguins are going to have to bridge in between when the core says goodbye and when all of these future assets begin to arrive. That's going to be a huge problem for Dubas. And I don't know that was the right move to be taking these 2027 draft picks last year. I don't know. That to me is a tough one. You would have wanted to get them in the system as soon as possible so they can be a part of this culture with Sidney Crosby and kind of have an idea of what it takes to be an NHL player. Let's see here. I don't get that comment at all. 2025. Okay. Adam is back. What are your deadline predictions specifically? Well, we know that, we don't know, but my prediction would be almost to 100% certainty that Marcus Pettersson will be traded. Matt Grzelcyk is a strong possibility. I don't think Cody Glass gets dealt. I don't think Philip Tomasino gets traded either. I think his runway extends through the end of the season. Then they will evaluate. And I I'm pretty sure they'll bring him back next year. And he's putting some pucks in the net. He's creating some offense. I think he is learning what it takes. I think his next phase is going to be to get his nose a little bit dirty. Who else? I think Alex Nedeljkovic is a possibility, though not a probability. Who else? I think Erik Karlsson is also a possibility, not a probability. I think the probability is that Erik Karlsson is traded before next season, and that it happens this summer. Again, when more teams have cap space, when you can exceed the cap, you can do all of those sorts of things. I like Erik Karlsson very much. I think he's playing some great hockey. If I were a general manager of another team and I needed some offense, or if I could fit Erik Karlsson on my team, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I wouldn't have said that last year. I'm saying that this year. More hockey cards, please. Over or under 300 career NHL games for Tristan Brose? Over. I can't guarantee they're all with the Penguins. Bear in mind, the Penguins still have that second round curse. All of the Penguins' second rounders flamed out from 1976 until Teddy Bluger in 2013. And it took Bluger, 4 years to hit the NHL? Not until like 1819. Actually, took his whole college career and then a couple of years in the minors. So it took Bluger like 6 years to get to the NHL. Tristan Jarry. Penguins second rounders do not work out. So, by the way, between Teddy Bluger and Tristan Jarry and Greg Malone in 1976, those were the Penguins second round draft picks who have played more than 200 games in one tenure with the team. Richard Park also was a second round pick. He left. He bounced around the league. He came back for a couple of years. He actually played more than 200 games with the Penguins. Oh, I guess it's after 2:00. Let's, no team claims Jarry. He heads to the AHL. The Penguins officially promote Joel Blomqvist. Wait, there I am. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen with you. There's the home screen. You can see all of my look, there's Dubas, his sandpaper comments on Jarry and Nedeljkovic. This is a great PHM Plus story. Unfortunately, the herd followed Dave Molinari. Dave Molinari had a great plan. He slipped away from the Sidney Crosby media scrum. He saw Nedeljkovic in the room. Dave wanted to talk to Nedeljkovic about going through the same thing that Tristan Jarry is going through. Unfortunately, one of the Penguins interns spotted Dave going and said, "Ooh, I should follow Dave." And the intern followed Dave, and a couple other cameras came over. So Dave only got a question to Ned before the cameras got set up. However, Dave made the most of that. He got a pretty good story that you won't see anywhere else on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. That's behind the PHM Plus paywall. You can use the code DAN10. Save yourself $10 on PHM Plus subscription. I'd love if you could support this venture and come along for the ride because we're busting our butts. I don't travel to Seattle for fun. I can assure you that. However, back to the original question. Yes, Tristan Brose will play over 300 NHL games. From Facebook coming in here. What younger players in the NHL do I think the Penguins could acquire? Oh, boy. That is such a broad question because I think we've been over everybody. We've been over all the high-profile young players, the Nick Roberts. And who's the defenseman Ottawa selected in the top 10 first round pick for Ottawa? Seattle, they bounced him. Not Brenneman, but something close to that. We've been over all those names, and the Penguins haven't bit. Now Dubas is shopping. Make no mistake, Dubas is shopping, but teams see Dubas coming, and they know he wants a young player, so they're going to charge him. Not many teams are like Nashville, give up Tomasino for basically nothing for the good of the player. I think teams are going to start trying to charge Dubas for these young players, and that's going to put a crimp. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. Teams with young players are trying to develop them, like the Philadelphia Flyers. They're going to hold on to their young players. Islanders are going to try to hold on to a couple of young guys they have who haven't, the guys they haven't ruined yet. The Rangers, yeah, just you go around the league. I'm just doing this in my head on the fly here. You might get some legit prospects when you trade Marcus Pettersson and Ricard Raquel. But there again, which teams are interested is boy. Ferreira, man, you threw me a knuckleball. It was coming slow. I should have been able to hit it, but I don't know. I didn't see Thomas coming. And so I'm being a little more judicious or cautious, throwing out names this time. In fact, I'll tell you what. I will do the research this week. I will get on the horn. I'll start making some calls. I'll start doing the research, and I'll see what young players Dubas might be able to acquire this season. I'll do a little story on Pittsburgh hockey. Give me about a week on that. All right, cool. All right, good chat. The regular dude is against the Jarry buyout, and here's why. He says, I don't dislike the idea of a buyout over a trade with future impact, but this buyout is akin to taking a hospital meatloaf over gas station sushi. Here's where you're making a mistake, regular. You are not considering the tertiary factors, the big picture here. You're not going to trade Jarry. If that were possible, it would have been done. Full stop. They tried. They couldn't. So they're not going to trade Jarry because, well, they can't. Which makes buyout the only other remedy. And they have to do that, in my opinion, because you have to clear that space for Murashov. Murashov. When he gets here, I will ask him again. He told me once, and with his Russian accent, I was like, "Oh no, wait, is it? Do I take a break here with the Russian accent and call him Murashov, or is it Murashov? I don't know." But anyway, they need to clear space for him. Let me see if I can get okay. David DeSantis, first time listener. Yeah, David, we've gone far too long on this one. I'm already over an hour 15. Good Lord, what am I doing? Is Crosby minus 17 and Rust minus 20 really reflective of their goaltending goals against? Very good point. Those empty net against the Penguins have been not good at preventing those. Also, this is and David, you touch on a reason that a lot of the sabermetrics analytics folks hate the plus minus because how many times did say Crosby or Rust they were on the ice? Let's say a defenseman makes a mistake, the other team gets a scoring chance, stoppable one, and it got into the net. That's a minus on Crosby and Rust, right? So no, I would not say that those players are playing like a minus 17 and a minus 20. That's extreme. I will say that they have had to sacrifice a little bit. They've had too much pressure to be offensive. They've maybe taken some chances that they wouldn't have before to try to get that goal. All of the above. Jason. Dubas will be judged based on his rebuild, not this failed. His rebuild needs to be a lot better. Interesting. So, Jay Son, you're saying this retool is going to fail, and then Dubas is going to have to get into the rebuild. Full tear it down to the studs rebuild. Interesting. I suppose, as I think about it, you are simply taking my analysis that there's a 2 or 3 year gap at the end of the and when these future assets arrive, and you're taking it to another level here, makes a lot of sense to me. You make sense. Scott Jones, with Pedersen going and a lack of grit, would you think Kyle Dubas puts a claim on Ludwig? Spoke highly of him earlier. Thought, oh no, I guess he didn't. It's after 2 o'clock. He didn't. Would I? No, I'll tell you what about John Ludwig. He was a nice guy. He certainly had physical moments. They were kind of reckless moments, to be honest. He wasn't always physical. He was a bit like Kasparaitis in the sense that they were reckless physicality. I don't know that when he wasn't doing that, if he had much value to the he wasn't he's if you're not hitting people in those big, showy, spectacular ways, what else are you doing? I don't think Ludwig was anything, I don't know that he's an NHL defenseman. He's kind of a 7th, an 8th, a top call-up kinda guy. That's great place to make a living. He'll make a living. He'll not have to work after hockey if he doesn't want to, but, yeah, he's not I don't see him being a top 6 defenseman on a decent team consistently, and I just grade him in that gray zone there. Gable Fisk is back. Did I ever have any dealings with Kevin Hatcher? No, I didn't. He may have rubbed off on his son personality-wise. Who is Kevin Hatcher's son-in-law? See, you're hitting me in a blind spot, Gable Fisk. I know nothing about who marries who, people's kids, and I was yesterday year old when I found out one of the head honchos on the Penguins network, his father was a former Penguin. I was like, "What? Your dad was." I had no idea. Been around the guy for a couple of years now. Not a clue. Not even the faintest idea. You're hitting me in a blind spot. Clifford Miller. By the way, Gable Fisk, tell me who. Tristan Jarry was put on waivers simply to send a message to the rest of the team. More hockey cards, please. I think there's about a 20% chance that someone trades for Kevin Hayes at the deadline. Not totally optimistic about it, but it could happen. Yeah, that's interesting. Here's the problem trading Kevin Hayes. He is signed through next season, and you're not getting a rental that you can say, "Oh, didn't work." I think the Penguins would have to eat some salary too to make that happen. How would I evaluate Kyle Dubas' performance thus far? Asks Mr. Ryan Driscoll, despite being fairly happy to this person. Boy, I would give Dubas to this point a C minus. You can't get over the Ryan Graves and Tristan Jarry signings. You can't get over probably not the right move. Get over kind of waiting so long to trade Jake Gensel last year that the team didn't have a chance to get its feet. If Dubas had moved as he kind of promised he would. Remember Dubas last year kept drawing lines in the sand and walking them back, drawing lines and drawing lines. He did it 3 times. He finally traded Gensel close to the trade deadline. And that week leading to the deadline or leading to the trade, and then the week after, as poorly as the Penguins played all season, those 2 weeks I circle as the difference. If Dubas had done the Gensel trade in January, the team would have had the chance to get over it and then realize Michael Bunting was a pretty good hockey player and really get going. By doing it so late, it didn't leave them enough runway. It didn't leave them enough runway to adjust. And I suppose he didn't care about the runway. I suppose in his thinking, the runway was already closed. But um, letting PO skip away for nothing. I mean, they got him back for only because he failed in St. Louis. But I think you're seeing PO and what he can do. Yeah, I would have gone a different direction on a lot of these decisions that Dubas has. I like Cody Glass, but Cody Glass and Kevin Hayes and Philip Tomasino, that's a lot of pass off you're taking on. And I don't think a third round pick in a couple of years is adequate payment for some of these trades. All right, so I'm actually gonna. Boy, I've got a ton of questions. Wow, you all. I'm gonna pick 3 at random here because I don't want to do an hour and a half. Okay, Wanda Circus. I said before, start, sell out, trade Sid to Colorado, and every Avalanche fan now cheers. Nash 26. Crosby would rather go to Montreal. I don't think Crosby wants to go anywhere. Okay, this is a good Crosby argument. Okay, I'm going to pick one more. Okay, last comment. Also, Haley Hunter's dad is a former. Yes. Oh, Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry's wife is Kevin Hatcher's daughter. I had no idea. You are breaking new ground here, my friend, and we are going to end there. All right, folks. It's been a blast. Have fun. Talk to you soon. Hopefully, I'll do one of these next week from the road. We'll see how the Wi-Fi hotel is. Take care.